is Sarah and welcome back to another episode of Talking Fast. Alongside me, just like every week, manager Jacob. I can't really see him though because there's something in my contact lens right now and it's so distracting.
Are you going to be okay for the episode?
I think I'll be fine, but if I'm off a little bit today, that's what we'll blame it on.
Okay.
We'll blame it on my contact lens.
We've also switched. I have my phone here, so worst case, I can just call the paramedics really quickly.
Great. Amazing. I would like a please escort with the ambulance. Jacob, what are you drinking? Or actually, side note to the audience, we are switching things up and adding eating as an option. Because like we say, what are you watching or reading? So why isn't it, what are you eating or drinking?
Sarah, there have been multiple times when you've asked me, oh, what are you drinking this week? And I'll be like, you know what? It's water. It's coffee again.
Exactly the same stuff every week.
But I had, maybe I had something to eat that day that was like fantastic. And I just, couldn't share.
I think it's good to share like good restaurants and stuff as well. So what are you eating or drinking?
Okay, well, the almost exact opposite of a good restaurant. But you know what? People upon this listening to this podcast probably know that a lot of the time I'll lower my bar for things like chocolate. I like cheap chocolate and stuff like that.
Yep.
There's a time and a place for certain indulgences. And this week for me, do you know grocery store Danishes? You know, like the
can't say I like Danishes. So
and what about other baked goods? The end of the day, like a little bit. Sarah just admitted she doesn't like baked goods. She caught you mouthed that, so like the people watching on video would have caught that, but no one listening. You can't get away with that.
So explain the Danishes to me, and then we'll dive into.
Okay, a multi-pack of Danishes. They're like relatively inexpensive. They're great to pick up. And my sister had a concert the other night, so I was gonna go to this concert and just gonna have dinner afterward. Needed a snack, walked into the grocery store, boom, Danishes, hit the spot. They didn't have the lemon ones though. Those are my favorite. They did have blueberry.
I might have had Danish twice in my life.
Okay, but you don't like baked goods at all?
I didn't grow up with baked goods. Like legitimately 3/4 of my family is gluten intolerant. So like we didn't grow up like eating baked goods. Like the only time I ever really started eating like chocolate croissants, this is gonna sound so pretentious, is because I went to France and I had really good ones. So then I was like, oh, I guess I like chocolate croissants now. And then even a regular croissant, I don't really ever eat or any of those. I'm not like a pastry cake like person.
Listen, to each their own. To each their own. I respect it.
But it sounds great, and I trust that they're yummy.
You know what? It hit the spot for me. What hit the spot for you this week?
Quite literally the opposite of cheap grocery store Danishes. I went to a very expensive meal at. The context here is it was Nolan and I's 7-year anniversary dinner.
Congrats, by the way.
It's so weird to me that people say congrats like
that's an accomplishment.
I know. I guess it's an accomplishment.
We celebrate love around here.
Yeah, we do. But I just think it's funny when people are like, congrats. Like, it's not like I finished a marathon. It's like, anyways. So we were like, what are we going to do? And we decided to go to Prime Seafood Palace because we became big Maddie Matheson fans after watching The Bear.
Right.
And then he opened up Prime Seafood Palace, which is like his first like fine dining restaurant. And we're like, that's a good special occasion to try it out. Neither of us are really foodies. I think that restaurant's turning me into a foodie. It was worth the hype. The best shrimp I've ever ate in my life.
Is it shareables? I don't know.
Yeah, it's more like share. It's like sharing things. There's only like 15 tables in the entire restaurant, so it's very small and intimate.
Whoa.
But everyone that works there is so fucking cool. So my biggest fear about this is like going in and like, I don't know, fine dining being pretentious and whatever. But everyone there, they could work at Maddie's Patties or at Prime Seafood Palace. They could interchange. You'd never know. Like they're all so cool. Like the vibe is just perfect, and everyone was so nice, and you don't feel intimidated, and the food was so good. They don't try to like upsell you or like, I don't know, they just like tell you what's good, and like, I don't know, it was a very great experience overall. The food was so bomb. I'm not a big steak person, and I loved the steak. I love a béarnaise, and I dumped béarnaise on everything. It was so yum. But the shrimp, literally like to die for. I hype up. I could have ate like just 8 plates of the shrimp, to be honest. Really? And I tried caviar for the first time.
Oh, what did you think?
It was good because of the dish it was in. I wouldn't order a tin on my own.
You didn't just eat a spoon of caviar.
No. Well, I did to try it at first, but I ate it with like an asparagus, mussels, cream dish situation. That was bomb.
It's definitely not an everyday thing.
No, but the guys beside me were eating like just loads of it out of a tin. I go, do you even enjoy that? Or are you just ordering that to like show that you can afford the
See, this is what I was
$400
gonna
tin
say.
of caviar.
If someone is making caviar an everyday thing, it's not just like the expense of it, but it can't be that tasty to just
No,
shovel that.
100%. I think it's just like the experience of it. So
Yeah.
overall though, great, 10 out of 10.
And it looks beautiful too. The architecture's nice.
Oh my God,
I'm
the
blanking on
softest
who it was,
wood.
but, like,
Architectural Digest did a video on
I
it.
know the name of the architect, 'cause they also did an East End brunch spot.
Yeah, he's
in
from
Toronto.
Nova Scotia, I think.
Yes.
And so the softest wood I've ever felt in my life. I don't know how to describe it any other way. Like you go in and everything's wood, and like I don't know. It was just I was like feeling the bar like this. For those watching on video, I'm like petting the bar basically. It was unbelievable. Highly recommend. And worth the hype.
Amazing, and slowly manifesting getting Maddie
Matheson on the
podcast.
This is how we're going to start that campaign because we want Maddie Matheson on the pod really badly. So this is a good starting point.
Sarah, what are we reading or watching this week?
Okay, so yesterday, I haven't sobbed at a television show or movie in a long time. I bawled my eyes out to Queen Charlotte as I just sat on the couch and binged it all day. It's part of Bridgerton, but it's like a prequel to learn about the Queen and her story. I loved it because it answered all these like unanswered questions you have from the Bridgerton series. Their love story was so freaking cute. Both the actors in it were incredible. And I cried like a baby. It kind of just like hits you out of nowhere. There's like two things that make you start crying at the end. If you've watched it, you'll know. But yeah, I just started like weeping. And then Nolan comes and he's like, why are you crying? And then I'm trying to have to relive it by explaining to him what happened in the show. And then I'm like, sobbing even more. And when I'm saying it out loud, I'm like sounding so stupid for why I'm crying. I didn't even know, but I couldn't stop. It was ridiculous, but it's very good.
Emotional release then.
It's a good show though. So for anyone that hasn't watched Queen Charlotte yet, if you're on the fence, go watch it. What about you?
Amazing. Well, okay, I'm doing something, and this is a little bit of a call out. I'm doing another Jacob Morris PSA on this one.
Wow.
I was going down a YouTube hole a little bit, and it gave me a throwback to the early pandemic days. Did you ever get caught up watching the Bon Appetit YouTube channel at all?
No, but I was caught up in the drama of it. Like I knew all the drama, but I never actually watched
So a couple came up
series.
and I was like, oh, they just have such good, or they had such good personalities that now thankfully have gone off and done their own thing. A lot of them have their own YouTube channels that I didn't really know of until this past, couple of days, but I've been checking those out, and like they're putting out just as high quality content as like those Bon Appetit videos used to be. But like we don't support those kind of work environments
we
or
do not.
racism. So
go watch the individual channels.
Yeah, go support all of those individual creators who are doing amazing things that I didn't really know that they were out there doing.
I love when you go down an old school YouTube rabbit hole though, and like rewatch like old content.
Yeah,
that's like from years ago. It scratches like an itch in your brain. I really like it.
Yeah, it was a good experience.
What are you listening to this week?
Okay, I've got hooked on this new artist. I think it's Augustine. He's like this Swedish indie
Your
rock
Spotify
kind
Wrapped
of.
must be so fascinating.
It is all over. I think I have like per year I must have like 1,000 different genres.
I was gonna say
like
because like even on this like Jacob's like summer hits playlist, you've got everything from like very basic top 40 to like like this deep rooted underground Eurovision
this
shit.
Is what I was this is what I was gonna say. So Augustine, he just released a new, it was relatively new, this song called Merry Cookins, and I've added it officially to Jacob's songs of the summer. It is on the playlist, so go check that out.
And with the weather recently, now it's appropriate to start listening to that playlist.
Exactly.
So
I was
it's public,
driving here
right?
tonight. Windows were down because it's a nice day outside. The sun is shining, and I was listening to it.
Is it a public playlist for our listeners?
It is a
to
public
listen to?
playlist, so if you search that, it should come up.
Amazing.
There's a photo of me on this podcast as the cover art.
So you can't miss it.
What do you got this week?
I have been listening to the official Cavendish Beach Music Festival playlist, which is all the songs from all the artists that are going, because I'm manifesting going. Like last summer when I was there, not at the music festival, but just at Cavendish Beach, I was like, oh my God, I need to go to this music festival. It'll be so much fun. My little East Coast heart, half my East Coast heart was like, I need to go and like be on the beach and like listen to great music. And like Chris Stapleton's going and Kane Brown, all these great artists.
Right.
So shout out PEI if you're going. Let me know.
We love PEI.
We're back with another solo Jacob. I always say solo, but there's two of us. So I guess it's
Duo.
We're back with another duo episode of Sarah and Jacob. So what we wanted to do this week, someone gave us the great idea of interviewing each other. Because although we've worked together now for 2 years in May, Happy anniversary. Yeah, it's 2 years.
Congrats to
us. We've worked together for 2 years, and we host this podcast weekly together, and then we see each other like all the time. But there are questions that we've never asked each other and things that we don't know about each other that the audience also wouldn't know. So what we're going to do is these are questions we've never asked each other, right? Or things
that we've written ourselves.
Yes. And I don't know what Jacob's going to ask me, and Jacob doesn't know what I'm going to ask him. So this will be everyone's first time hearing these questions. And hopefully you guys learn a little bit about us, and then we learn a little bit about each other.
Exactly, Sarah. This is right. And we don't quite know the vibe of each other's questions either. So this could go like one of two ways. It could be like right on par and we could get really deep into something, or it could just be a train wreck. Who knows?
We're pretty similar, so I think it's going to be more aligned than we think. But I'll let you kick off with the first question. So we'll go back and forth.
I'm just going to toss out a feeler because we're both siblings. We've got siblings.
We're both siblings, yes.
I don't know if you know, but I'm the middle child of the siblings.
Yes, which is odd to me because you give older, like oldest brother energy.
Okay, you are the oldest sibling.
Yes, I am.
Right? This is actually my question. Do you feel like the oldest sibling?
Absolutely.
You do.
Half of my conversations in therapy are about being the oldest and being okay. So mine's a little complicated because I'm the oldest of 3. So for those who don't know, my younger sisters are twins and they're younger by 2 years, just shy of 2 years. I'm the oldest, but it's to twins. So you're kind of stuck in like a middle scenario, not the middle child, but you're stuck in the middle because it's like there's the parents, that's 2. There's the siblings that are the same age, that's 2. And then there's me kind of floating in the middle where it's like, I'm not old enough to really have like the responsibility to like take care of my younger sisters because I'm that much older than them. Yeah. But then again, if there's an argument, it's always 2 against 1 because they're twins. We're in the same womb. Of course, they're going to like always stick together and be together. So it's like, it was an interesting way to grow up. So I was the oldest, but I always like joke that it was like being in the middle.
Were there ever times where like you played one of them against the other?
I would try. It never would work.
You couldn't break it up.
No, and it's the twin telepathy thing that people talk about is real. It's
really?
Real. Yeah, it's odd. Like they were always 2. It was always 2 against 1.
And 2 years is not that big of a gap.
It's not even 2 years. Like they turned 25 in March, and I'm not even 27 yet. So it's just shy of 2 years. But yeah, we tried to do the whole like I babysat them quote unquote thing when I was like 13 and they were like 11. But obviously that didn't really work because I was so like close in age to them. But yeah, it was just interesting. I did feel like the oldest sibling. I always say that I was my parents' test child.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the rules were a lot harder for me.
Okay, see, as the middle child with a gap, it's like 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. My brother is 2.5 years older, and then my sister is 4.5 years younger. So that was a bit of a big gap. But you just saying that about the babysitting, I'm pretty sure Ben, my older brother, was assigned to babysit me once or twice, and that just didn't work.
That was me. But the funny thing is, like, my sisters and I play the roles of oldest, middle, and youngest, even though they're the same age.
Really?
That's the really interesting part. Like, we all still play the same like classic family dynamic roles of being the oldest, middle, and youngest. Even though Emily's the oldest by 3 minutes, it all still falls into. Yeah, it's really fascinating.
Oh, that's wild.
So like we'll always joke like she's the middle sibling, even though, like from an outside perspective, people will be like they're the same age. But yeah, we definitely all fell into those same roles, which is really interesting.
Oh, that's cool. I don't know if people know that. Do people really know that about you?
That I have twin sisters?
Yeah. I feel like you've mentioned it.
I don't know though, because like I think they might, but I lived with Emily for 4 years. And when I started TikTok, I was living with my sister. For a long time, people didn't know I had 2 sisters because Mackenzie was like living in Sudbury at university. And then she moved to Alabama. That's the sister I went to go visit in Alabama. So yeah, I guess like it's rare for the 3 of us all to be in the city at the same time and all like hanging out. So yeah, I feel like people, if you haven't been around for a long time, wouldn't know.
Or people think that they're the same person.
Which is also another thing that does happen. People do just assume there's one of them. Okay, so I was curious because I think I've talked about my experience playing hockey. I've talked about my concussions. I know you play soccer now, but what I want to know is what were the sports or activities or whatever that like shaped your childhood? Like what was your like what did the week in Jacob Morris look like as like a 14-year-old?
This is good because I played in terms of sports and activities, which was a big part of my life, but not like there was never any like, it was just house league. essentially.
Okay.
Just
So
house
you
league
didn't
stuff.
do like travel sports or anything?
No.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Definitely not a hockey household.
No. Did you ever play hockey?
No, it's too dangerous. I wasn't allowed.
Oh
I
my
did
God.
play, but I did play. We actually invented some games as kids. So we played side yard soccer, which was 2-on-2 in between
Ooh.
our house and the neighbor's house. That wasn't.
That's smart.
Then there was just house league aside from that. And I only played like 3, I think I played 3 summer seasons of that. But other than that, I was actually more of a basketball player.
Really?
I know. I haven't
In
played
high school?
basketball. No.
Okay, like
Actually, well, I tried out for the high school basketball team. This is actually a funny story. It's not a funny story. I still to this day disdain my guidance counselor, who was also the basketball coach.
it's a weird
That's
a weird
I know. Very long story short, and I wasn't at fault for this at all. It was just like a crazy. It was just a bad situation. One day, I got beat up in high school, and I had to go to the office, and this other kid that did this ended up getting expelled because it was pretty serious.
Wow.
And I was like fucking had just been beat up in the middle of the cafeteria, and I went to the guidance counselor's office to like wait for like I don't know whatever was going to happen in the office. And my guidance counselor came up, and this is what why he's a bad guidance counselor. He comes up, and instead of like figuring out the situation, he uses this opportunity to cut me from the basketball team.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he's like, Jacob.
Wow, you just got beat up?
Yeah, he comes in. He's like, Jacob.
And you physically look like.
Yeah, like it wasn't like bloody, super bloody or anything like
but
that.
He knows why you're there.
Yeah, I'm a teenage guy. You know what I mean? Like I've just been
God.
humiliated, and it's a bad experience. And he comes in, and he's just like, "Don't worry about coming to practice tomorrow. You can stay home and like rest because you're cut." I'm like, dude, you are ruthless.
That's literally taking the knife and then just like twisting it.
I know. Maybe this is a therapy session. Maybe that's why I didn't play basketball really after that.
Oh my God, I wouldn't either.
But I never played.
So sad.
Anyway, shout out to the good guidance counselors, and just remember to take care of kids, man.
Don't kick them when they're down. That is so sad.
Yeah, but other than that, like sports were never super.
But like,
serious.
what about high school? Like, if it wasn't sports, like I have on here musicals or drama. Like, was there any other clubs or teams you were part of?
I was like a visual arts kid through and through.
It doesn't surprise me.
So like, I was spending time. I was like doing community service hours, like basically working in the school darkroom, like teaching kids how to develop film.
Oh,
and that
that's
kind of
cool.
stuff. Yeah, and then all kinds of visual arts, like everything from painting to drawing to. Obviously photography, like I said, and that kind of stuff. But it was really mixed because I would, in the basketball days, like I fully wore a headband and all that stuff.
Okay, so I'm going to go into my next question that I'm going to ask you because it kind of goes out of this. So you're a big visual arts person. So again, we've talked about it a million times in this podcast. But for those who don't know, Jake and I went to the same media school at Toronto Metropolitan University, the RT School of Media. So then when you were going into RTA, was your dream job? Like, what did you think you were going to RTA for? Because I don't think it was to be on Talking Fast and manage TikTokers. Like,
no.
What was that when you were going to RTA?
Like, well, it's interesting because like RTA there's so many different streams that you can go into, and these days that's even more true than before when I was there, because you can do sport media now. That was like just starting when I got there. Creative Industries, which is another kind of broad-based creative program and whatnot. When I went going in, I wanted to like be a director of both
like
TV
a film, TV and film director.
Yeah, I loved TV, but like both of those, but like things change, you know what I mean? And it wasn't that I didn't want to chase those dreams anymore, but like in the school, I just really found that I was passionate about the business side of things.
Yeah.
I was always kind of leaning toward where are the budgets, where are all the production documents, how can we keep the logistics sorted
Very producer of you.
Yeah, and it's just like something that I was also good at. So, you know, I wanted to lean into that more.
But it's one of those things that like a lot of jobs, I think you don't realize those jobs exist, or sometimes they don't even exist yet when you're in a program like that. Like when you're in a media or communications based thing, right? Like everything's changing so rapidly. Like I didn't even know what a producer was or did. You just saw them on the credits of a movie, and then you go to school and you learn about it.
Exactly. Well, that's like if you are a kid and you're thinking about, oh, like what would it be like to direct a movie? The image that at least I had in my head is like you see the director's chair and you're like, cut and action and whatnot, right? But like there's so many different aspects to that business and the other creative businesses beyond it.
Exactly.
Well.
And there's so many, like, I mean, I see it every day when working on the Olympics. There's the business managers to the researchers. So there's all these different jobs that you don't realize exist until either you're in the industry or you're in school for it too.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to jump back because I actually kind of wrote a very similar question for you that you had already just kind of asked me about the childhood, because I was also curious. I'm just like, that's such a time for shaping how who just someone becomes. So how did you spend your time in childhood, and like what were the activities that shaped the mind of Sarah Jenkins?
Needless to say, I never liked doing one thing, and that's why I kind of live in this like world now where I do like one job, two jobs, three. Like I start all these different things and projects because I was always that way. I always lived in like this torn world between sports and like arts. So not like painting and stuff like that, but like dramatic arts and music. So when I was little, my parents made us all take music lessons because my mom read somewhere that makes your kids smarter. So we all got to pick an instrument. We couldn't have the same instrument, God forbid. So I picked guitar first because I was the oldest and I got to pick first. And my one sister picked piano. The other one picked violin. Fiddle, to be specific, because East Coast. My mom wanted her to be like playing the fiddle. My mom wanted us to be a band.
Party vibe.
Yeah. My mom wanted us to become a band. So I started playing guitar from 3rd grade until like I don't know, 9th grade. No, maybe like 8th grade. Then I became an angsty 13-year-old and was like, I don't want to take guitar lessons anymore. Ugh, and then I stopped. So that was like part of my routine. Hockey, though, was my entire life. I started playing hockey when I was I figure skated first, and then I hated that when you fell, you got hurt. And the first time I went on like a hockey rink with a bunch of equipment on, I fell and I skied over to my dad. I was like, I didn't get hurt. Like I was just so happy that I could fall and not get injured.
Did you learn to skate on figure skates?
No, I figure skated in hockey skates.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because my dad was a ref, like a hockey ref, so that's how we got into it. So hockey was my life though. Like I truly, like if you asked 10-year-old me, believed I was going to be like Cassie Campbell at the Olympics. Like that was like my eat, sleep, breathe was everything hockey. So I was playing competitive hockey from the time I was 7 years old until just 17, until I like got all my concussions. So, and then had to like figure everything else out. But school, so that was like outside of school, but then in school, drama and like presentations and student council.
You were student council. Okay.
I was president of student council in grade 7 and 8 or grade 8. And then in high school, I was like, I don't have time to run for president. So I was the tech officer, which was so funny because it was like VP. But
what is the tech officer?
My job was this is the hilarious part. My job was to run all of our assemblies, make sure all like anything like social media, tech, any of that was all under tech.
Okay.
So what I would do is I created this series called Sarah's Vlogs for the fucking assemblies, and every assembly, because we used to have these like fun assemblies, would start with one of my vlogs of like a day at school. Isn't that crazy? It's like I was doing that in high school.
I didn't do that. I produced the spirit videos.
Okay, yeah, I did the same thing. So so that was always like schools where I got like my fix of like filmmaking and like animation class, and like I went to a really artsy school, like being in school musicals and stuff. But then I still like hockey was like what drove me. At one point I was like, I want to be an actor, but then no agents would take me unless I quit hockey because they were afraid you'd get injured. And so that was kind of it. But that and soccer, those were my two sports. But
that is so frustrating. There are people out there that I think are just like small-minded in that sense.
100%.
Okay, there is a certain, you could get injured for sure, but like why use that as an excuse to
start doing something? But I'd say like if it was like a mix, like it was like a Thanksgiving dinner plate where I had a lot of like little things going on. So hockey was like the main, that's like the meat and potatoes. But then I did like guitar, singing, musicals, drama, all of that as well.
You know what's so funny about the singing too is that I feel like every time you post a singing video these days on TikTok, people are like, whoa, wait, what?
They're like, you've been keeping this a secret? I'm like, no, I just don't want to be a singer. So I don't like publicly post on the internet all that often.
Are we one day going to like find you have a burner account that you post all of these like silhouetted?
Silhouetted. That'd be funny. No, it's never, it's always just been for myself and for funsies. So it's fun to share though once in a while. Like when I've like figured out a cool way to play something, I don't know, I share everything about my life. So
I think that's
good
too, to like not completely drop a hobby. Or,
it truly is just a hobby. Like it's one of those things where like I would not care how good or bad I am at it.
I mean, we might have even talked about this on the podcast, but I think like it's so important to have hobbies and activities that you don't want to turn into like a business or a full-time thing, or like chase a dream that's never going to be attainable. Like just doing something for the love of doing it.
And that was like my friends who would always be like, you should do open mics. I'm like, that then makes it feel like
it's a performance.
Yeah. And I don't want to do that. I just like, you know, I love like pulling out my guitar around a campfire and like leading like our friends like singing in like a song or something.
We need those people too. Sarah, I got a good question for you.
Okay.
This is a bit of a light one, but I'm curious. Picture this.
Picturing it.
A plane you're on has just landed and people start clapping. Do you join in, or what is your first feeling?
No. I've never clapped for a plane landing.
The over under on like Sarah clapping would be, I would say that it would be very unlikely for you to clap.
Yeah, no way in hell. I get so much secondhand embarrassment of other people doing embarrassing things.
Do you get upset about it though?
No, I don't get upset. Like let people live their life. Like I don't get angry. Like whatever. I get more annoyed at the people that stand up as soon as the plane lands when you have to like go in order to get off the flight anyways. Like that, like there's so many other things about flying that piss me off that I don't care if people clap. Look, some people,
Have you ever done it?
No, I didn't, honestly, I went on like 2 airplanes as a kid. Like I didn't really like grow up like flying or anything. So I remember going to Disney World when I was like 10 years old and everyone started clapping when the plane landed. And I turned to my dad, I went, why are we clapping? He goes, because we landed. I go, isn't that what's supposed to happen? I was like 10 years old and I was so confused.
So logical.
So logical. But no, I don't. If I have, it's satirical.
Is Dean a clapper?
I don't remember. No, he's not a clapper. But my friends and I did it satirically when we were going to Cuba. Okay. Only because if you had followed my Instagram stories, our flight had got canceled. We had to stay at a hotel, like whole extra day. There was just all this stuff that happened. So when we clapped, it was more of a, yeah, we finally made it. So only satirically. How about you?
I've clapped once or twice. I don't do it often, but you know what? The miracle of flight and the miracle of landing.
That's true, though.
Pretty cool.
If I was on a private jet, I would clap every time we landed because those things go down so often. Those things are terrifying. I would not. Those private jets are so scary.
Yeah, there's a lot more turbulence. You know what makes me feel better? I have a friend, Mike, and Mike is a private jet mechanic. So
Is Mike good at his job?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to know something crazy? My grandfather built a jet, like built a plane.
Was he like an
aerospace
engineer or he just did it?
No, my grandfather was a couples counselor, but he is so freaking smart. My bumpa is the smartest person I've ever met. And he, also a TMU grad, he was a counselor, like a psychologist. And then he was also a race car driver in another life. And then he built an airplane because he just wanted to build an airplane.
Some people build like birdhouses.
Yeah, I know. He built a full-blown airplane and then he got rid of it before like I ever flew in it, but he sold it to somebody. But yeah, he built an airplane like from scratch.
Good for him.
I'm like, how did you even begin to do that? He goes, you just buy a couple books, you learn how to build an airplane. It's crazy. That's such a sidebar.
Next on your to read list is aerospace engineering.
Aerospace engineering. Yeah, absolutely not. I don't think I ever would have trusted going on that plane, but hey, props to him. Jacob Morris, I would like to know if money wasn't an issue. Like if I gave you $1 billion, whatever, like all the money you ever need to live the quality of life that you want to for the rest of your life, how would you live your days? Like what would you do with your time? Because you're a busybody like me, so...
I probably wouldn't change that much, to be honest.
You'd still work, even if you had all the money in the world.
Yeah, a lot of people have. You know what? I contribute to an RRSP, a retirement savings plan, like most people do or should. However, I don't have any plans to retire.
Yeah, I don't have any plans to retire either. But okay, that makes sense.
I think I'd be uncomfortable if I'd maybe work a little bit less, or I'd probably maybe care a little bit less if you had $1 billion.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
That's true. If you care a little, that's.
But you know what? It might also help just like in work performance. Like if we were quoting for a job, for example, and I had $1 billion in the bank, I'd just be like, throw out a wild number.
Or else you're like, or I'll just give you the money, Sarah.
I start paying you to like promote deep and delicious cakes.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's interesting. You'd still work.
I think so. Yeah, I think I'll be like a.
Would you do anything more charitable though? Like, would you spend your time? No?
Well, yeah, I guess it depends on like the how the money is given to me, I guess. Like if it's just covering my expenses, but if I have access to it to do things, yeah, I'd probably be way more charitable. I like to donate to charities. I've got a list of my go-tos every year.
Shout out the MS Society of Canada. Jacob donated to my MS Walk page, you can too.
Yeah. I'd probably start a mental health organization, actually.
That'd be good.
Yeah. Probably tie in running somehow. And then maybe I just like run around doing that.
Literally run around doing it.
Yeah, that's something that I'm probably most passionate about in terms of like care or charitable organizations and whatnot. But you know what? If you have $1 billion, you should probably also put
not have $1 billion.
Yeah, put a lot of time into figuring out how to give that away in productive ways that aren't necessarily charity, that are going to set up your community for a better world.
You should be a politician if you have $1 billion and you have all this time. That's a great answer. Be one of the 150 million mayor candidates that we have.
Yeah,
here
did you
in
see
Toronto.
the elections coming up, and the last entity to become a candidate for mayor is a dog.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it Brooklyn?
No. Okay, Sarah, I got one for you coming up here. I'm just curious because the May long weekend is coming up, and I know that you have plans to go out east.
Correct.
Where is the cottage? What's the cottage status? I know that there are like light renovation plans, design plans. It's really a two-parter. One, what's coming up in terms of the cottage? And two, what are your long-term plans when it comes to being a place that you can maybe spend time with family or friends?
That's a good question. Short-term plans is when I get there, I didn't want to drive with my parents. So my parents are driving like the 19 hours and I'm flying to Moncton at the time that they will be crossing through Moncton so that they can pick me up. Love you, Mom and Dad, but I don't want to sit in the back seat with your two massive dogs. So they will pick me up in Moncton. We're going to go to the cottage and rip out all the flooring.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's going to be like the first thing we do. We're ripping out all the flooring. I think we're going to try and dig out the fire pit this week. We're also going to paint a bunch of stuff. So that's like the first step. The issue is contractors are so backed up because there was a hurricane that went through the East Coast earlier this year. So obviously their priority should be helping people that literally don't have like half of their house because it's been like ripped apart. So we're going to do a lot of like cosmetic stuff ourselves this year just to see how we like it before we do anything like ripping down walls or anything crazy like that. I'll probably be there a handful of times this year. My summer's gotten pretty busy, but long-term plans with it. It's now like our family cottage, I guess you could say. But my parents' plan is to retire out on the East Coast. Now, whether that means we have a few acres, whether that means they're building another property on those acres, or they're buying me out. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But currently, I am a direct 50% owner, and then my parents split the other 50% of the property. So yeah, I think their plan would more likely be to build something else, and then that dwelling becomes like more so like mine and what I use. But yeah, long-term plans, I'd love to be in a position where I can like spend a few weeks out there like at a time. We just got internet, so that's exciting.
Nice.
So, but I don't currently work in a job that allows you to work from home from another province. So it's the truth. So if I did, like my sister, like she'll go spend like 3 weeks out there this summer because she can work remotely from there. So ideally, if I could do that eventually, that'd be amazing. But yeah, my mom like made this comment the other day. She wants to start a Christmas tree farm when she moves out there. I'm like, great, June, you could do that. Yeah.
It's gonna be a whole Hallmark movie.
Yeah, that's what. Oh my God, my friend Regan said that yesterday. She goes like, "Oh my God, it sounds like a Hallmark movie." And then she goes, "Your mom's name is June." But yes, I want to spend more time out there. I plan very spontaneous trips out there though. Like I'll be out there at least 5 times this summer. It just like depends. I just don't know.
And
when.
this is kind of the first season anyway.
Yeah, because last year we bought it in July, so this is our first like full summer. But lots on the East Coast. I'd love to like do more stuff on the East Coast too. Like I'd love for us to do like an event or something out there because like I love Halifax so much, and I'd love to like, I don't know, merge that a little more, like not just do stuff in Toronto. So.
Live podcasts? Does anyone have a venue hookup?
If anybody wants a live podcast, Jacob and I really want to do a live podcast. In case anyone's wondering, we haven't verbally said it, but we really want to do one.
Yes.
So if anyone would like to attend one,
and not just in Halifax,
anywhere, we'll go anywhere.
Yeah. If you've got grocery store Danishes,
then you can find Jacob there. What's the status in your cottage? Same question. Reverse,
Exciting times. So our permit got approved for building on Friday, so a few days ago. And
That's
we
exciting.
started clearing the trees in like 2 days.
That's crazy that you're watching, like that you're building something legitimately from scratch.
Yeah, it's just like an empty lot on a lake with nothing on it but trees and rocks and all kinds of stuff right now. And it's been like when did we get it? 1.5 years long process or more now?
Yeah.
We're like getting close.
I can't believe it's already been that long.
I know. It's wild.
And now you're finally, how long will it take to actually build it?
Well, this is the thing. I don't know. We it's kind of the opposite in Ontario here. It seems that all the teams are kind of ready to go and build things, which is really exciting. But worst case, a year. Best case, who knows?
Best case,
Less
who
than
knows?
that.
Are you still doing the sunken couch situation?
Yes.
Okay, I can't wait to see the sunken couch as I invite myself over.
Yes.
But also we can like just do cottage trades. I'll give you the keys.
Let's do it.
We'll just do a swap.
Let's set that up.
It's like when I used to do House Swap or those TV shows on HGTV.
Oh, classic. Yeah.
Okay, where's your happy place?
Ooh, is it? I have a very similar question. So maybe we can just use this as happy place. Okay. Do you mean like in my mind or like an actual place?
You can take it however you want it.
Okay. I feel like I might have talked about this on the podcast before though, but like my go-to Zen in place in my mind, if like I'm going to have a panic attack or something like that, and I need to zone out, or if I'm just like looking for a little moment of calm, is a beach at the cottage that I actually grew up on. Okay. A nice little beach out front there, and it was a very calming place. So just like a nice breeze, I kind of imagine myself there. The one time I did that and like it worked, and that's why I think I continued that beyond.
To do it, yeah.
I went to, I'm not a big like rides guy, like amusement park rides. And I went to Canada's Wonderland. Shout out for
Don't
the first
go
time
there.
Ever. I've only been once, and I went, and it was like a rainy day, so there weren't that many people there. Yeah. No lines to wait for a ride, so we did like 6 back to back to back to back to back. Got really, really sick, and then on that like 6th ride, it was like one of the spinny ones where you're kind of standing in a cage in a circle.
Oh my God,
and it's spinning in a circle, and then it tips you up.
Nope.
Like
could not catch me on one of those.
Centrifugal force to push you against the back. I felt I legitimately thought I was going to die. In that moment I was like, I have to go to a happy place to be able to withstand this right now.
Oh my God.
So I just imagined myself on the beach and kind of completely disassociated for the rest of the ride, and it worked.
Oh my God.
If it was a physical place though,
the cottage that's to be built.
Yeah, perhaps. I don't know. It's not there yet, so maybe not.
Yeah.
But I do like, maybe not a specific body of water, but swimming. I love swimming. Just jumping in a lake, jumping in a pool, and kind of just like swimming around. Feels good. A lot of people don't like open water,
yeah, I don't mind open water. I'm just not a huge swimming person in general. I don't like getting my hair wet.
What about you? Because I kind of wrote the exact same question in different words, but like, let's just use the same one. What is your happy place?
I would just say, okay, so I think it has to do with water too, because when I lived in Coburg, there was like this rock beach that was at like the end of a drive, like of the street that I used to babysit on. And it was like where I would always drive to, like if I needed to think about something, or if I was like really stressed or being angsty, I would go drive, park there. And like it was private because Coburg had a really great beach, but this was like a private separate rock beach that kind of only the locals knew about. Had a pathway down, and I would just go sit there and just like stare at the water. And then now though, I have like a cottage, which is like that as well. So whenever I'm like near water, I feel very calm. So even like yesterday, wasn't feeling great, so I just went to walk along the waterfront in Toronto. So just throw in my music and like zone out. So I don't really know if it's like a specific place as much as it's like being near bodies of water is very calming to me. And I think that's where I like can take a deep breath.
Yeah. Okay. That kind of leads into one other question that I did have too, because I feel like we're somewhat similar in this, but maybe we can dive into a little bit like introverts versus extroverts. Because sometimes I feel like in my mind it can go either way for myself. So curious what you think.
Because we're Geminis.
Yeah. But that was kind of the question, because you answered a little bit, but like, where do you feel the most energized, and then where do you feel that you can like relax and recharge? For some people, recharging, they can go out dancing, and that's like a recharge for them and their batteries.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely, I am an extrovert. Like I'm an extroverted person, but I'm an extrovert that's like, it's like I got a battery pack and I got to like go recharge it by myself.
Yeah.
So for me, honestly, like that's why I try to zip out east as much as I can, because now like last summer that place became such like a sanctuary for me to be able to like recharge. Like I can kind of go at my own pace. There's no like, I have responsibilities, but not really. Like I can just like go walk along the beach for as many hours as I want, not think about anything. And that's a really good place to recharge. When I'm in the city, recharging for me looks like reading a book, getting off my phone, just like sitting in silence by myself or listening to music by myself and just not talking. Like,
does it ever happen to you if you're like, you need that recharge, but you're in a situation where you're expected to be extroverted and people think you're upset?
Yeah. And I'd say I've gotten a lot better. It's so funny. One of the questions that we got about this podcast episode, when I had asked people like what they want to hear from us, and someone said, Sarah, you've been working on boundaries. You've talked a lot about working on boundaries this year, and how has that helped you? That's one of the boundaries I've been working on. And part of that is now, I used to, even if I was drained, dead, as recently as, let's say, last summer, I was running to events doing this, and I probably wasn't putting my best version of myself forward, and I didn't like that.
Right.
And whether it was like with new people or my friends, and like, I don't know, I just felt like I wasn't putting my best version of myself forward because I was so drained and I wasn't allowing myself that time to recharge. Whereas now, I say no to so many things now. Like, I'm not afraid to say no to things, even if I want to do them, just if I need that time. I'm really good at like checking in. Like, even I was stressed because I'm going to a concert tonight, and we were going to go to dinner before, and I was like going to do it, and like, cause the expectation of it. But then I was like, no, I can't. Like, if I cancel that dinner, then I will feel so much better about bringing my best self to the podcast, and then being able to go back and take some time to get ready before, and I'll just overall be less stressed, and I won't have that like anxious feeling following me through the rest of the night.
And sometimes I think that this is for me, at least, drawing those boundaries feels like you're disappointing other people.
100%, always.
When in reality, you're, like you just said, you're setting yourself up to actually be able to offer those people or those situations like the energy that they probably deserve.
And well, and even like things like going out now and stuff, I really only dedicate like one night now of like a weekend to like really like going out for like dancing and having fun. Whatever. I love going out with my friends, but all of us have kind of just started doing like one big night out a week if we're going to do that. And like, we all just have so much more fun on that one night, instead of me like drawing myself so thin, bouncing around and doing all these things. It's so, you said disappointment. I always felt that I was like, I'm disappointing people if I don't show up to something, whatever, but it's like, you're only disappointing yourself if you're not bringing your best self forward. So now just allowing myself the time to charge, if that means a night of just not saying no to a concert that someone invites me to, and instead just like sitting on my couch and like watching Bridgerton or whatever it is, like that's like what I allow myself to do now. Welcome back to our mailbag segment, where it's not called mailbag. I fucking call it mailbag every single week.
It's fully written in our document as mailbag. I want that to be known.
Let's start again. Welcome back to our voicemail segment, where every week we answer your questions, give advice. After a nice little chat, we're now going to not talk about ourselves and try to talk about things that will help out other people.
Maybe? We got almost a what do you want from us, Sarah? The voicemail question number 1, biggest advice for recent university or college graduates.
I think I've talked about this before, and I don't know if it was in a TikTok video or on the podcast. It all blurs together in my brain now. Just take the trip to Europe, take the time off. It's not really a regret, because I guess it's what got me to where I am in my career now. But like, I literally left my last university exam and went and walked straight into my first full-time job. Like, I did not have a break. And I was always so envious of my friends that went and traveled for 2 months or whatever, because we're in the same spot now. Like, it's not like I really got any further ahead or any of that. Like, I just didn't. I was always like, next thing, need the full-time job, need this, that. And I wish I had have just someone who told me to like breathe. Me taking a few months off to like have a true one final summer, because then you don't get you don't get summers anymore when you're an adult. It's just like, It's just work all the time. It all blurs together unless you're a teacher. So I would just take the time, because you don't get that time ever again in your life.
That was going to be my advice, but from a slightly different perspective, because when I graduated, I very much did not have a job coming out of university, and I had to end up moving back home for like a month. So I had that
totally
time.
Fine.
I had that time off, but it's just like, I was worried about it. And if I could go back and give myself advice in that moment, I would just say, like, don't worry about it. It's first of all, you're at the very beginning of a very long journey that is your life.
I know. You're so young.
And you have a lot of options, and stuff will work out. You know what I mean? And that's what I would say to myself, and probably to anyone else, is that like, whether you have a job lined up and you want to take that time off, like you said, do it. If you don't have a job and you're worrying about it, don't worry, it'll all work out eventually.
Like, you're so young. Like, when you graduate university or college, you're like 22. I thought I was so old. I thought I was so old and mature and whatever. And I had this chip on my shoulder and all of this. And like, looking back, I'm like, you were a baby. As a little baby. So yeah, just chill out. You don't need to get a job right out of school. You can work part-time. You can try to figure out what you want to do.
You could completely change. I know a lot of people that completely changed. They finished their undergrad and they went and did something wildly different.
Exactly. Completely change. You can go back to school. You can do whatever you want. Just like, don't put yourself on the pressure of comparing to other people who get jobs right out of school, because that's not fair to do to yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, Jacob, next question. What is our favorite thing about having the podcast?
Ooh, okay, I thought about this one for a little while and I was like, oh, I wonder what it is. What is my favorite thing? Because there's a lot of good things. But I think for me, and this is like when we have a guest, not a great example today, but when we have a guest, you get nervous.
Yeah, always.
I get nervous always too, but I like that a little bit.
It means you care.
Yeah, and it's also the like the unknown of, okay, I have this list of questions. We're about to have a conversation with someone that I've most of the time never met, never had any experience with. But, you know, by the end of it, those nerves are obviously gone because we've kind of broken into an interesting conversation and just, yeah, getting to know different people and their perspectives on different things and proving to myself week over week that like the nerves aren't something to get in the way of doing something that's interesting.
It never comes through either, but it just means you care. Like if you're not nervous, you don't care. I think my favorite part has been, I mean, I view this as like from a producer perspective. So for those that are listening, I edit the podcast, and something that's really kind of crazy that I'm able to do is when I watch us, like, so me editing this right now does not see it as like myself in the seat. I like very much edit it from like my producer perspective. I don't really see it as myself, but it's been really cool then because I can objectively look at our progress and see like between you and I how far we've come as like hosts, whatever. It's like one of the first projects because I was so nervous launching this and I was so like in my head about it, but now being able to see how much we've grown through interviews, through just our own banter, us discussing things, and our confidence, that's been the coolest part for me to see. My favorite part has been like seeing the growth and progression.
Oh, that is an interesting perspective.
Yeah. Voicemail
question number 3. What's the biggest thing you've struggled with so far in 2023 and overcome?
There's a few. I've had like it's probably like not known to people, but I've actually I've probably had the roughest mental health like past 5 months of my life, which is like not something I really share on the internet or not something I really share about in general. But I was asked this like big comment of like life altering question at the end of the year, my last therapy session of 2022.
Yeah.
That really like made me spiral, and I just like it was like, who am I? Why am I here? But like all of the like big whatever questions. And that's where like when I talk about so much about working on boundaries and whatever and working on myself, it's truly, I'm in like, for lack of a better term, like a selfish era right now. And I have to be, just due to the fact that I'm like trying to figure out, like, it sounds so like big and huge, but like who I am.
Yeah.
And so I've been really struggling. There's been deep rooted traumas, to be honest, and stuff that I never talked about or addressed like years ago that happened to me that come back now. And now I'm like finally crying about them for the first time and that type of stuff I thought I got over. So I've been kind of going through it a little bit, like, but all in like a good way, like all in a way that it feels like progress, like not in a, like I'm in my room sad and crying every day. It's in a way, I don't know. It's just, I'm working on myself and I'm feeling in this, like, I can feel the change happening. I don't know how to explain it. Like I'm in this. And so I'm in that era that's like something's about to change, I think.
Well, congratulations for that then too, because I know that is a tough go, but so important. And it is like, you can understand it when you're looking at the work that you're doing, that this is positive for you, but that doesn't make it easier to kind of trudge
exactly
through.
Like, oh my God, last week I was crying in therapy and I was like, and my therapist made this comment about like, this is great, like this is the beginning of us like figuring this out. And I like screamed, I'm like, the beginning. I thought I cried about it and then we move on, and she's like, that's the problem. So it's like, and I move on. So I know it's for the better, and I can feel myself like caring less about what people have been thinking about me, like all this stuff. Like Jacob knows, because I would text him about it a lot. Like in January, I was like really in my head about that stuff, and even to now, like I am so, it's off my, like I don't care, which has been so freeing, and I've really noticed that in the past little while. But there's just now other things, so I'm seeing the progress. It's just like you can't go over it, you can't go under it, you gotta go through it, kind of thing. So hoping that like in the next few months I see even more progress of it. But yeah, it's just we've been going through it, so we're trekking along.
We love to hear it.
How about you?
Well, mine is. I feel like I should have gone first.
I know you probably should have. So I've had the worst year of my life. How about you? I'm kidding.
Well, mine is mine. Okay, I had for the longest time on my to-do list booking the dentist, and I finally did it recently. Listen, some of us overcome really difficult.
It's okay because right
health.
now it's just not the era you're in. Maybe you went through yours
I'm in my
years
dentist
ago
era.
when I was like, you might have been going through your tough mental health stuff years ago when I was like spending every night at Rock and Horse. Like it's just like we're all in
100%.
different eras of our life, and that's totally fine.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not going to compare myself against anyone. That's right. That's a good point. But it was something I spent so much time in a dentist's chair as a kid.
Okay, me too. And I'm super anxious about it. I should go to the dentist and I don't. I avoid it.
Yeah. So, okay, maybe add it to your to-do list and like deal with that a year from now because that's what I did. And anyway.
Did you feel better after?
Yeah, I feel better. I'm actually in like pretty good shape, better than I thought. And I only have a couple of fillings that need to happen, but otherwise pretty good. And that's happening next week. So if anyone wants to send me some...
What are you trying to solicit?
Just like good thoughts.
Oh, good thoughts. I thought you were going to ask for like, someone wants to send me some mouthwash or like, I thought you were asking for free stuff. A Crest sponsorship, whatever it might be.
No.
Jacob loves the dentist now.
No, just good thoughts and positive vibes for my fillings.
Do you go to one of those dentists that has a TV when you can watch?
Okay, so I just switched dentists because I didn't like my old one. And they do have a TV.
Oh, see, that's
my
cool.
dentist also looks exactly like Andrew Garfield. If anyone knows who this is, you probably know who it
ladies,
is.
you should drop the dentist names and then.
I creeped him a little bit, and he's
Andrew
like dating
Garfield,
like a
really?
fitness person.
Oh, of course he is. Okay, never mind, ladies. We were trying to hook you up with a dentist. They have a.
If it doesn't work out, maybe.
Well, thank you for joining us for this little. I keep calling it solo, our little duo adventure. Let us know if you liked our conversation and if you learned something new about us. I learned some new stuff about Jacob. Think you learned some new stuff about me.
I did.
And we will see you next Wednesday, as always. Bye.